Welcome back, Tigers! In this video, we're going to solve a common challenge for sales teams, the standard Salesforce limitation that only opportunity owners can update the forecast category field. We'll show you how to give sales managers the ability to modify this field for their team's opportunities, eliminating the back and forth with reps and streamlining the entire forecast process. Now let's go see how to implement this valuable functionality for our sales teams. All right, here we are in Salesforce, and we're going to learn how to allow our sales leaders to be able to update this forecast category field for their team. It's a standard Salesforce limitation that only the opportunity owner can modify the forecast category from the UI. Now we're able to write automations to update this field. We're also able to update it via the API, via data loader or mass update, but we want to empower our directors and sales leaders to be able to update the forecast category for an opportunity if they need to. So our first step is we need to create a brand new picklist field that we're going to allow them to edit. We're going to go into setup and we're going to look at the opportunity object. We're going to go to fields and relationships. We're going to create new. This is going to be a picklist. You can call your field whatever you want. We're going to call ours forecast category update. And you need to make sure that the values in this field match your standard forecast category field perfectly. So we're going to open up a new tab here and we're going to make sure that we copy ours. We're going to look at our forecast category field here. And these are our different values: omitted, pipeline, best case, commit, and closed. One caveat here is if you have a special policy in your company where only certain team members can close win opportunities, then you'll need to create a validation rule that prevents any user who has edit access to this new custom picklist field from being able to update it to be closed, because that's going to then make the forecast category closed and you don't want that to happen. We're going to click next here. We're going to add it to the layout. Okay, now we have two forecast category fields on the layout. You really only want one. We're going to remove this standard forecast category field, and we're going to only allow our users to update the custom forecast category field. And now we're going to create a flow that's going to keep these two values completely in sync. So we're going to go into setup here. We're going to go to flows. We're going to go to new flow. We're going to create a record triggered flow. Now this is going to fire on the opportunity object. It's going to fire when a record is created or updated, and it can't be a before save flow, unfortunately. We tried to make it a before save flow when we were testing, and the value of the forecast category field, since it's dependent on this stage, was not available to be updated back to the forecast category update field. So we weren't able to keep these values in sync because of that. So don't even try to do a before save flow, it will not work. If you have a question on whether or not you should use entry criteria or decision criteria, we'll put a link to a video that we did in the description below so you can make that determination. We're going to do a decision element here, and we're going to look for the forecast category update to change. So we're going to look for our custom pick list that we just created to change value. You're not just looking for this field to change. There's a couple of other criteria we need to look for. So we're going to look for forecast category update is changed is true. But what happens when a record is created net new? This criteria is not going to fire. So you actually have to add more criteria to make it fire whenever the record is new as well. So we're going to create a new resource here. It's going to be a formula, and it's just going to have the function is new, and this will check to see if the record is a brand new record. So we'll look for is new equals true, and then we'll look for our forecast category update field to have a value. Then we need to do some custom logic here. And we want this to fire if the forecast category update field is changed, or if the record is brand new and it has a value in the forecast category field. Then if it does, we're going to do an assignment here, and then we'll just do an update at the end of all of our decision elements just to show you a different way to work your flows. If you have multiple decisions and multiple updates that you need to do on the opportunity. All right, so we're going to assign the forecast category field of our opportunity. So we'll look for our triggering opportunity here, and we're going to assign the value for the forecast category field. Now you're going to say, which one do you choose? So you're going to choose the one that has forecast category name in it. The other one does not work. So the API name is forecast category name right here. Now you're going to ask me, why are there two? And why does only one work? I'm not sure. My guess is that forecast category was the old version of the forecast category field before they allowed us to add custom values, because that wasn't always a feature in Salesforce. We can't run an update to the forecast category. That was failing when we were testing. I'll put some API documentation in the link below. It doesn't really explain why there's two, but it explains that two do exist. All right, we're going to assign a value to that. And the value for that field is the value from the opportunity, whatever the user put in our new pick list. So this is how it's going to keep the forecast category in sync when the custom field is updated. Now we have to do it reverse. What if the forecast category is changed because the stage changes? So we're going to add a decision element here, and we're going to look for record is new or forecast category is changed. We actually should call that the same thing here. Anybody else hate these autofills? It drives me nuts. Okay, and we're going to do basically the same thing here. So the triggering opportunity, forecast category. This time we're going to look for the one without the name on the end. Is changed, is true. And then we're going to look for the record is new, is true. And then we're going to look for this not to be null, which it shouldn't ever be null, right? Because all stages have to have a forecast category assigned. We'll put it in for good measure. It's probably really not necessary. All right, we'll say no here. And then we're going to do an assignment. We're going to assign the forecast category update field. So now our forecast category got updated and we want to update our custom field. So we're going to look for our triggering opportunity. We're going to look for our forecast category update field, and we're going to make it equal the value in the forecast category name. Then we're going to do an update here at the end. Update triggering record. Okay, we'll click save there. Here's the name of our opportunity. Here's the description. Save, click activate. And now we're ready to test this out. All right, let's come over to our opportunity, and you're gonna want to remove the standard forecast category field so that your users don't get confused, and you only want them to be able to see the custom one. Now, let's go ahead and test everything out. We can see that our forecast category field is blank and our forecast category field has a value. You're going to want to run a mass update so that you have your custom forecast category field updated to match the current values in your forecast category. Now we're going to update this to commit, and we would expect our forecast category standard field to change as well, which it does. Now, if we change this to, let's say, omitted, we expect it to go to omitted. So all that's working perfectly. Now, what if we change the stage? Well, if I change the stage to negotiation review, I can see that my standard field says commit. So I expect the custom field to be updated to commit, which it is. Now, let's say you change both at the same time. What if you change this to omitted and you change this to a different stage that's going to have a different value in the forecast category? Well, because of how we have our automation built, it's going to take the value from the forecast category update field, the custom one, which is what you want to happen, I would assume. If you don't, you can adjust your flow accordingly. So that's how you set up a custom field that allows your managers to update the forecast category for their team members. That's it. That's a wrap. Be sure to subscribe to Blue Tiger Academy so you don't miss our next video where we learn how to work with forecast submissions. This is a very helpful feature for teams that need to capture a snapshot in time of their forecast. This prevents users from having to export and manage this information outside of Salesforce. Let us know in the comments below if you have any questions or if you'd like to see a video on a different Salesforce topic. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.